Hi everyone, welcome back to Sweet Talks. I'm Tess, your host. Today I have Gabrielle with me. She's a social media star and honestly is just so hilarious. I can't wait to get to know her more and make scones with her. How fun is that? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into this episode. Hi Gabrielle.
Hi. I was going to say, so nice to meet you.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited that you're here.
So am
I am ready to make some scones.
And I'm ready to eat.
Yeah, when you told me that you wanted to make scones, I was like, I'm so freaking excited. This is the first quick bread, which means that there's like no kneading, no rest time that I've ever learned to make. And I was like, yes, I am ready.
Yeah, this is the first thing I actually have ever baked.
Really?
So this was my mom's thing, and we would do it together. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, okay. So I will let you do all of the heavy lifting. Your hands are going to get dirty. So we have our dry ingredients here, which is flour, baking soda, baking powder, a little salt, a little sugar. And we have our cold butter. So you want it to be cold. You want it to be cubed because it's easier to like mold together. So essentially, I'm going to pour this in, and then you're just going to work it with your hands.
Let's do this. Let's get into it.
Let you work. Come on, little guy.
Come on.
Let you work your magic.
Okay. She's
Yeah, just like that. Also, I feel like it's really therapeutic. It's like kind of sand.
Feels good, like kinetic sand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. I'm getting out all my stress.
Yeah, that's why I bake.
This is therapy.
Yeah, it's cheaper than therapy, so this is what I turn to.
And you can eat afterwards.
Yeah, because I also eat my feelings, so I feel like this is
same.
This is a full circle moment for us both. Some people, if you have a food processor, this is great to do in a food processor.
This is way more fun.
It's so much more fun. So I was like, no food processor. Words. No food.
I'm so bad at words.
No food processor. Yeah, that looks good. That's perfect.
I got really into it.
Yeah. Mom, are you proud? This is buttermilk.
Okay.
And so it's a 2/3 cup buttermilk, and I'm just going to pour it in and just same thing you were doing. And we're going to do it.
Ooh. I wasn't expecting it to be so cold.
So your hands are going to get really, really sticky, but I promise once the dough comes together, it'll like kind of fall off of your hands, so you don't need to worry.
Right.
We will not lose any of the dough.
It's gonna fall apart like my life.
I feel that's weird.
This is getting really dark.
You're like, I'm equating these scones to my life right now.
We're baking scones and I'm making it so sad.
Oh, this is looking good. Now, I'm going to keep your hands like that. We're not washing them yet. Because we're going to bring this here. So I'm going to put that... So we take a lightly floured surface. So I'm just going to put this over for you. And then you just want to take your dough, put it here.
Okay.
And kind of like roll it together.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a kneading process, when you knead the dough, but this is a no-knead bread, so that's why it's about 15 seconds, 30 seconds max of you doing this.
Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, and just like, you rub your hands
Do you want to join the group? Come on. Don't leave yourself out.
All your buds are
there. Stop being so codependent on me. No. Stop liking me. Normally
Feelings are not mutual.
Normally I want to be liked, but not like this.
Okay, that's looking really good. Now, I will allow you to wash your hands if you would
Oh,
like.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
I'm going to contribute.
Okay, the best part, the pastry cutter.
Okay, can I go like crazy?
However you want, yeah. Do whatever you want. Great. Amazing.
Get some anger out. There's some people that I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's really how baking should be. Now I'm going to just separate them, and then I'm going to give you our pastry brush with melted butter, and you get to just brush on some butter.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, you are a perfectionist, I can tell. It's like one even stroke. Okay, now my favorite part. So we have turbinado sugar. I can't talk today, but turbinado.
Turbinado.
And then you just sprinkle this on the top as much as you want or as little as you want.
thought you were gonna say like TurboTax or something, and I was like, okay.
You're like, let's not.
Yeah, let's
taxes.
get sponsored.
Wouldn't that be great?
Sponsored by TurboTax.
So this is all the prep that there is. So this is all the prep that there is. We're going to put it in the oven, and then I have some already made, so I'm going to take some out to show you. Look how perfect.
They're so pretty.
They're so good. They smell good. I'm like getting the butter. I just want to eat
my
it.
childhood.
Yeah, it's bringing you back.
Yes, it's a lot prettier than mine was when I was like 5.
It all goes to the same place.
Yes.
That's my motto. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to taste good.
Yes.
Okay, you ready to eat them?
I am.
Okay, let's go! Whee! Cheers!
Cheers!
Champagne! Okay, we have to try our scones.
I'm so excited.
Take whichever one you want.
Okay, she's calling me.
Okay, good, because this one was calling me. This is our jam. It's strawberry jam. There's a little knife, or you can just dip, whatever you feel like.
Sophisticated.
It's like we're having tea and crumpets.
Yes.
But scone and champagne.
We would do this when I was little. We would have like high tea parties because we were very much into Jane Austen and BBC.
Oh, yeah.
So Mom would make us the little like cucumber finger sandwiches.
Shut up.
And she'd put them on trays. And then she'd make little scones. And
oh my God.
So this reminds me of that. This is so unsophisticated. I'm so
do
sorry.
it. I love it.
I'm a Texas child.
Oh yeah, these are good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bringing you back to high tea.
Mm-hmm. With my sisters. Yeah, it reminds me of all that. And we'd also bring our favorite dolls.
Oh, that's cute. You have to have the dolls.
You do.
Yeah, because it's like your best friend when you're 4.
Yeah.
You don't have any other friends.
Yeah. So this reminds me of my childhood.
I love that.
What we good.
So how was it growing up in Texas? What was it like? Yeah, chew. Get it all in.
We were very outdoorsy. I remember, it's so different because I feel like kids nowadays don't do this, but I would literally leave the house barefoot, run around, go on like mule rides, go fishing, go play with the neighborhood kids, and I would come back for dinner.
Yeah.
And I would do that like every day.
Same.
Yeah, make mud pies, all that. So I was very like outdoorsy, and I think that's where a lot of the creativity came from.
Yeah,
like, entertaining yourself outside by yourself. So
yeah, I feel like the same way I would do the same thing. Like we didn't have phones until like I think I was a freshman in high school, and so from that age and younger, I was like, okay, I have to do something. So I was just like running around outside all the time. Yeah, and just trying to figure out what to do to make yourself keep yourself occupied. So you were telling me earlier that you grew up in a very conservative family. Yeah. What was that like? What does that mean, conservative, and how was it growing up in that?
I think just like where I was, it was like the Bible Belt of the South. Sure. And then I also went to a private Christian school, and we went to church every Sunday, sometimes Wednesday. It was like the foundation of our lives and our lifestyle. It was the structure, it was a part of our schedule, it was everything. Yeah. So yeah. And what was it like getting into your field? Because you wanted to be an actress, right? Yes. You've always wanted to be an actress. Yes. Was that something that was supported in that conservative like region and household? What was it like growing up with like the creativity you had and expressing yourself? I think my parents were always very supportive because I think they always knew that about me. I was a very eccentric child, if you can only imagine. So I think they predicted that. I was always in ballet and theater. So when I said I wanted to be an actress, they weren't surprised. I think for them it was mainly like, okay, but how are you going to support yourself? And so I think there was a little bit of fear there. So they were supportive, but I think in terms of where I grew up, like no one was doing that. Yeah. So it was considered weird. Like, what do you mean you don't want to like pursue the more traditional route? Sure. Like go to school, get married, like stay home with your kids. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I just never had the desire to do that. So I definitely stood out. Yeah. Was there a moment that you remember in your childhood being like, oh, I'm different? Like every day. I think I remember going to school, and it was really hard for me to fit into different groups. I always say, like, I was never cool. It was cool to make fun of me. So it was really, really hard for me to feel accepted. And I felt that from a very, very young age. Like, when I was in kindergarten, I got held back because I wasn't making friends. So I think it started at a very young age. Yeah. And then as I grew up, it was like, oh my gosh, you got held back. Like, you're going to graduate when you're 19. That's really weird. And so then it makes you feel more like isolated.
Sure.
And,
How did you overcome those feelings?
I did have a good circle. I really did. I think we were all in the same position. I tend to gravitate towards people who also don't fit in. Sure. It makes me feel like, okay, they get me, and they don't feel the pressure of impressing people. Like, they don't feel like they have to try. They just want to be themselves. So I've always been drawn to people like that, and luckily I had that in high school. But I think because it was like a small group of like outsiders, we like got left out a lot, or people thought we were troublemakers. Sure. And we were just kids. Yeah. Like, I look back and I'm like, we weren't doing anything, you know.
I feel like I had a similar experience with, like, I don't know if this was the same way with you, but when I was really young, because I grew up and went to school with the same people. I went to a public school, so it was like you lived in this area, you go to these schools. Right. And so, and when you're young, you don't have the stigma of like popular versus not, or weird versus not. It's just kind of like, you're just kids. Yeah. And so everyone's friends with everyone, and then you start seeing the like different, you know, avenues people are taking, and like, oh, this one's popular, and like, well, we used to be friends, and it's like that total trope of like the weird kid who used to be friends with all the popular kids when she was like 5, and now not so much. And I feel like that's something that I went through, and I was like looking at these people in high school, and I was like, we used to be friends. Yeah. Like, this is so weird. And it does put you in this weird mindset that it's like, there's something wrong with me, or like, it gives like kind of social anxiety. Like, yes. Yeah. Did you experience that too?
I definitely struggle with that, especially if like in your situation, if you're a very loyal person and you see your friends like kind of picking and choosing sides or leaving you to be with other people, it hurts, and you don't want to tell people you can't be friends with them because they hurt my feelings. Like, you don't want to be a petty person, but at the same time you're like, well, I wouldn't be friends with them if they hurt you. Right. Like, that's just not the type of person I am. But you can't expect people to be that type of friend for you. And that was something I had to learn. But I think because of that and other things, like, I definitely struggle with social anxiety. And I just assume that no one likes me, which is weird. Like, I feel like everyone feels that way, but I just assume that people don't like me.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. Like, going into large crowds or like big parties or something of that nature, it is, it's not crippling. I don't have it that bad, but I'm certainly standing there like, I have just like the feeling of uncomfortableness everywhere. Like, just like washing over me. And it's like, it's still to this day. How has that journey been with social media?
Oh my gosh. So last year, when I still had my old job, I remember going to a work party, and it wasn't just people from work. It was also like their boyfriends or their girlfriends. Like, everyone had a +1. And I remember going in, and people were just looking at me like I was crazy. And I was like, what did I do? And it was because they knew me from TikTok. So immediately I noticed people like pulling out their phones and taking pictures of me without my permission and recording me. And that made me so uncomfortable because, like, obviously I don't think of myself like that, but I think just the thought of like someone recording you like without your consent and you don't even know about it, that kind of freaks me out. So ever since then, I've been kind of skeptical about going to parties just because the reaction is so strange. Yeah. And I think it's just because I'm not used to it, because I'm like, I post on social media, but so does everybody else. Yeah. But I think I haven't processed the fact that, like, you know, well, everyone's on their phone. Like, people are scrolling through TikTok and they watch your videos. I think that's really cool. Like, I haven't processed that yet. So I'm always surprised by people's reactions.
Yeah. Well, you're like humbled by, oh my God, you know me? Like, I'm just a regular individual doing what you love. Yeah. So I get that. Has that hindered you building relationships, like friends and more than friends?
Yeah, I think, you know, the hardest part is actually maintaining friendships versus making them, because I have made good friends from social media, but a lot of my like relationships prior to social media are like literally falling apart, and a lot of it is because of it. That's the weird thing about success is even if you experience a little bit of it, you still experience loss that comes with it. And I just didn't realize that, especially if, you know, you're friends with someone you think it's for better or for worse, kind of like marriage. Yeah. I view my friends like partners.
Yeah. Well, they are.
They are.
You want them to be your friend forever.
Yeah, lifelong partner. Yeah, exactly. And so it's weird to see people just leave or not want to be friends with you because of this thing. Yeah. Like,
is it literally because of your success that they're like jealous of, or is it something else that's triggering that?
I think because of it, it's triggering something else. I think it's a deeper, more complex issue, but I think the social media definitely sparked that. Yeah. So with social media, I have noticed relationships shift, and I have noticed myself hold back more when forming relationships. Yeah. Because I'm just fearful. I don't know.
I feel like I would be the same way, where it's like, I think a lot of people, and this goes through time, like history, but now it's just different because it's like social media. I feel like someone always wants something from you, and right now the one thing that everyone wants is social media fame. They want that type of fame and recognition, and so if I were in your shoes, I would be skeptical. I'm also like a very paranoid individual.
I'm an anxious person.
Yeah. So I would just think the worst, which is like therapy, something I'm trying to get better at, but like
we're in therapy, don't worry.
Yes, this is like an extra therapy session. But I would just be like, what do you want? Yeah. Right? Like, you don't like me for me, because it goes back to the social anxiety of like, everyone doesn't like me. Yeah. I think that I'm walking into a room and everyone doesn't like me. And so why do you want to be my friend?
Yes. And I always feel bad for thinking that way, because I don't want to ever feel like, I don't want to be pretentious. I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so amazing that I have to worry about the people around me. I don't want to be like that. And I certainly don't think that way. I think I'm just a very sensitive person. I'm very protective. So I have to think that way in order to like navigate through people. Like, should I invest in you? Should I tell you things? Right. I don't know. Right. So just give me some time.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. Yeah. And I think any lasting friendship or relationship, just any type of like between two people, if it's going to withstand the test of time, then like giving some like extra time at the beginning to warm up to someone is totally fine. I don't think that that's a red flag. Yeah. Like, can't believe we're not friends right away. Like, you know, I think that's normal and natural and okay.
And it should be normal, but I think because I put myself out there online, people expect me to be super open and transparent and comfortable with that. And although, like, I love making videos, I love my job, I don't mind sharing bits and pieces of my life, I'm a very private person, and I do get anxious, and I'm not, like, I have, like, a crazy personality, but I'm not always comfortable with just sharing everything about me right away. Yeah. And I think that throws people off, because they're like, but you put yourself out there online. Yeah. I thought you would be very comfortable just telling me everything. And I'm like, no, I don't know you.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I think like something that you were talking about earlier is like, you play characters online. Yeah. So one thing is that a lot of people don't know Gabrielle. Like, they're not like, oh, this is who you are. It's like, well, no, like, I'm the cool aunt, and like, oh, I'm like the secretary from hell, you know? Yes. Like, and so
my mom loves that character.
It's honestly so fun. They're all so clever.
Thank you.
But I feel like that's just who they think you are. Yeah. And it's like, you're actually different. You're clearly not a secretary from hell.
Like, believe it or not.
Right. Like, don't be literal terms. Yeah. So I think that that's something too, where you're putting yourself out there, but not as yourself, as made up characters.
Yeah.
And that's something to, like, kind of marinate over.
Yes. I have noticed that, which I love. I love it when people come up to me and they're like, I love Hell's Favorite Secretary, or that auntie, or whatever it is. I really do like that. But it is interesting when the reaction is, oh, you're not like that person. And I'm like, no, I'm not an aunt.
Yeah.
I'm not like a secretary from hell.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think that's been the funniest part, is people meeting me and like assuming that I'm just like that, and I'm gonna be like super over the top and in character. And I'm like, no, so that's a character for a TikTok. But I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm entertaining you. So I guess one question I have for you is, what is one thing that you want people to know about Gabrielle?
What do you need to know? I think I want people to know that I genuinely love to create, and I want to do that in any way possible. You know, like, I love people, I love entertaining people. I think that's a passion of mine. One of my biggest fears, though, is if I pursue, like, if I go back to dance, or if I pursue acting, people are going to be like, oh, there's this TikToker who's trying to be an actress or whatever. And I think I just want people to know that, you know, I've always been like that. I've always loved theater. I've always loved ballet and writing. That's something I'm going to do, hopefully. Yeah. So don't be surprised, I guess. And don't be like, I hate it when people do that.
Yeah.
When, like, a TikToker will pursue music or dance or acting or whatever it is that they want, and there's just so much negativity around that. Yeah. Because a lot of people, the reason why we do TikTok is because we love to create. Right. And if something can come of that, that's amazing.
Yeah. Because most people who are on TikTok or on a platform that are putting themselves out there, it's for the purpose of being creative. Yeah. There's only a handful of individuals who are like, I accidentally posted this video once and it just went viral. Yeah. And, like, it was doing, like, walking in a park, right? Like, there's only a handful of people where that happened, where I think it's really more methodical than the average individual thinks. Like, it's not just, like, a regular, we didn't want to do this, happened. Like, you're making these characters because you enjoy character acting. Yeah. Right? Like, exactly. Yeah. Logically. Yes. Makes sense. So I understand what you're saying. Yeah. And I do, you know, as a consumer of media, I also hear all of those things, like, oh, this TikToker, like, is doing music, and, like, they're not a musician. Like, they love music, and they probably wanted to do that since they were 5, and they just had this platform that helped them elevate themselves to that point that allowed them to do that. And if you were in that position, wouldn't you take that opportunity? Oh, yeah. You absolutely would, because that's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Oh, absolutely. So that's the one thing I don't like about, I totally understand, you know, sometimes when I say I do TikTok, people, like, laugh or roll their eyes. I totally get that. But I hate it when people try to put people in social media into boxes. Yeah. Like, if you do social media and you're an influencer or a TikToker, you can't branch outside of that. Sure. And I think that's so silly. It's like, do whatever you want, and if you can do it, go for it. Yeah. And I think the other thing, like, I truly do think that it's coming from a place of jealousy. Like, all of these people, like we said, they want this for themselves. And so I think when others succeed, they have to bring them down for themselves. They have to be like, I could do that too. you know, or whatever they're thinking. Yeah. And I think it's really because of, it's clearly themselves. It's not a reflection on the creator. Yeah, and you know, another thing is, a lot of times when you, like, put out music for the first time, or you do your first movie, it's not going to be great. No. But, you know, people don't know you yet, so they're not going to, like, notice it or make fun of you or whatever. They might later into your success, but it's pretty much unnoticed. A lot of times, like, TikTokers, because they have a huge platform and they immediately pursue acting or music, they immediately get made fun of and bashed, but it's like, your first time is not going to be the best. And that's okay. Yeah. And so I hate it when, you know, I see someone that's successful on TikTok and then they pursue music and it's like, well, that song was really bad and I saw them live and it was terrible. And I'm like, yeah, because their first concert was iHeartRadio. Right. And it's hard to do anything. And this goes for, like, any career, anything ever. Like, your first drawing, if you're an artist and you draw crayons, pencils, anything.
Yeah.
It was trash.
It was so bad.
It was so trash, and
so
you
bad.
all know it was trash.
Yeah.
Like, the first one. Yeah. And, like, I haven't done this many, okay? They're not great. But catch me at, like, 100, and they're gonna be fab.
We're gonna be killing it.
Yeah. At 100.
Yes.
But, you know, the first one, I had so many people be like, oh, it was a little awkward. And I was like, yeah, because I was fucking awkward.
That's what I think when I look back at my old videos. I'm like, I start privating them because I'm like, oh my god, why did I talk like that?
Yeah.
Why did I do that? It's so cringe.
Yeah.
And so I just start privating. But that was my first time making videos.
Yeah.
I was getting comfortable with the camera.
Exactly.
And you also don't know how to use the camera.
Yeah.
You're figuring it out.
I think people are quick to judge because they assume perfection happens immediately. And especially with large platforms, they're like, how could you have so many followers if you're not perfect? And it's like, well, I think that's really the reason why you have so many.
No one's following me because I'm perfect.
Although you're a perfectionist.
I am a perfectionist, but you're not here for that.
But so in general, I think that it's, like you said, you're starting off, so when you do decide to go into movies, TV, you know, film, whatever you decide to do, you're not being like, this is superb. Like, you know that you're going to have to work at it. So, and I think the other thing too is I think your mentality is refreshing of, I need to work at things to get there.
Definitely.
Because I think that there's also a stigma, or some people think, you know, social media stars, it's like, amazing.
Yeah.
And you're like, yo, I'm a person.
Yeah.
And I have stuff to
I don't know how
on.
I got here, but I'm happy, you know.
But I is here.
I is here. And I hope to stay.
Yeah. Well, okay, I want to know the journey of social media. Like, how did you get to where you are now?
So I was working at a store, and it was my last day. I was going back to school. I decided to do community college and just gradually get back into school. And I thought, why not do TikTok? Because I remember seeing advertisement for it, and it was like, if you love to create, download TikTok. And this was right when it was starting, I guess you could say.
Like 2019 or like right before the
pandemic?
Like
2000. It was almost before the pandemic.
Okay, got it.
And so I thought, oh, well, I like to create. And I did not have the app. I did not know what was going on. So I downloaded it, and I was just scrolling through and just getting a feel for what was going on. This was when, like, Charlie was popping off. So it was really, really cool. And then I started going back to school, and in between classes, I would sit in my car, and I would do story times or rants. And I was probably on the app for, like, a month, and then I posted a rant about going to Walmart and getting carded for buying rosé because the girl did not believe that I was 22 at the time. And so she took my ID, and then she asked me if it was real, and then she asked me if I was sure of my own age. I was like, that, of course I'm sure of my own age. So I made this whole rant about it, and that was my first viral video. And so I thought, you know, if I want to do this is actually really fun. I'll just keep doing it. I did not think that anything would come of it. I didn't think that there would be a career. Yeah. You know, I never wanted to do social media. I always wanted to do art. And but I actually really liked it, and so I was like, well, I'll just keep going. And I think the consistency helped a lot. But yeah, that's honestly where it started. It was just me kind of like documenting and sharing my life, and then that's when the characters started, and that's when it really started to grow. Yeah, I actually followed you when you were ranting. I think it was the bathroom, but it looks like there's like a counter-ish thing behind you. Oh my gosh, it's like OG. Yeah. Wow. I remember that was like, because I kept seeing that like same silhouette, right? Like the same area in which you were filming, and you were talking, and it was, I believe it was about current events. Like, you were talking about certain things happening, and then there was one about, like, making fun of some dude doing something, and I was like, LOL. Yeah. So that was during pandemic, when, like, everything was shut. I couldn't go to school, so I wasn't filming in my car. So I would just film in my bathroom, and because I do or I used to do dance, I just rest my leg strangely. And I did that in one video and it blew up. And it wasn't because of what I was saying. It was because people were like,
I do that too, or something.
Yes, like some people were like, oh, were you a dancer? Or what is she doing with her leg? Because it was literally like this on the table, and I would jump into it and put it down. And so then it became a thing.
I do recall the leg, but I more recall like what you were saying, because I wasn't a dancer, so I wasn't like feeling the same vibe, but I was like, this is funny.
I was just trying to do something with my leg. Yeah. My favorite was when people were making videos trying to like put their leg up on random surfaces. That was my favorite. People would come up to me at work and they'd be like, oh, are you the leg girl? And I was working at Target, so they would put their leg up on the belt.
That's hysterical. You're like, that is me.
Thank you.
That is I.
Please get me in trouble. I love that. It was during the pandemic, so I was like spraying.
You're like, please don't put the leg up.
Like, COVID.
That is so hysterical. When did you decide to do it full time? And how was that decision making between doing it?
Last year, I think it's been a year of doing it full time. I got a manager, and everything. Shout out to Emma. Everything was working, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could actually do this. Yeah, and that was crazy, because I remember on TikTok, to like my mutuals only, I was talking about how I was very unhappy with my job, and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, and I was like, can I do social media full time? I don't know. And then my friend Isaac reached out to me and was like, I have a friend, she's an amazing manager, I'm going to set y'all up, and that completely changed my life. So I'm very grateful for Isaac.
Yeah.
We love you.
Isaac, hey. I'm Tess. I love that, because, you know, one thing that I've realized, and this is just in life in general, but specifically for, like, you are your own brand, your own company. Yeah. You know, when you kind of pull back all the layers, you are a company. And when you realize you can't do everything yourself is the moment that you propel yourself further than you thought you could. Yes. Because you can't. No one can do it by themselves. You have to have people in your corner, one, supporting you, just moral support, and then two, business support. Yes. The things that you know you can't do well that someone else can do better. And I think that that's a huge moment, and I'm glad that that happened for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thanks, big sis. I love
that. I want to go back to something we talked about. So one of the things that you were talking about with me was not being good enough in relationships and that feeling. Yeah. Walk me through your journey with that, and where are you at now?
I think when I was really very little, I didn't know this at the time, but my whole life I struggled with perfectionism, and not just in terms of like cleanliness or good grades. It was more so relationships and getting validation from that, and that has stayed with me throughout the entirety of my life. I just constantly feel like I need to be validated. When I was little, it was from religion, from church, from God, from my friends, from like romantic relationships. Like I just felt like I needed that in order to feel secure about myself. And now that I'm doing therapy consistently, it has been brought to my attention that it is because of perfectionism, and it's something that once you know what the issue is, then it's so much easier to fix.
Yeah, sure.
And once you identify events in your life, like, where did that spark from? Well, it was because of this and this and this. And because I'm able to recognize that, I'm also able to call myself out in those situations. So now when I'm talking to my best friend or my parents or my sisters, and I feel myself being insecure and feeling like a disappointment, I have to call myself out mentally and be like, is it because of what they're saying? Right. Is it because of something I did? Right. Or is it because of my own insecurities? Yeah. And 95% of the time it's because of, you know, that negative little voice in your heart. And I think that's the main thing, is just identifying the source. Yeah. Where did this come from? Why? And it's something I'm still working on, because I still feel like I'm not good enough. And I think I'm just like really hard on myself.
Yeah. And I feel you so spiritually on this, because same thing with my therapist.
Yeah.
What's up?
It's shout out to our therapist.
I hope they watch this.
I really do too.
We're gonna send you guys a link. But one thing is like, what is the underlying feeling, and like, what are you in need of? And it's very rarely someone else's validation that personally I need. It's that I can't give myself that validation because of being so hard on myself. And like, same with you, where it's like, why can't you just give yourself the credit where credit is due? Like, clearly you've accomplished so freaking much, and like, you're probably like, I could do more.
I'm always like that with myself.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. And so it's a constant thing. I think it's like always a work in progress, no matter what, no matter how many years you're in therapy or how far removed from the healing process. You know, I think that it's always something for people like us who feel this way about ourselves and are so perfectionist in our everyday. I think that it's always something that we have to work on.
Absolutely. I remember the first time I hung out with other influencers, and it was nothing that they were doing, but I felt so insecure. I felt like I'm not good enough. I don't have enough followers or views. I'm not making enough money. Like I was judging the way I looked and what I was wearing, and I was like, I'm not cool enough. You know, I was so hard on myself because I was comparing myself to these people that I didn't really know. And then I went home and I remember sitting on my bed and I was like, Gabrielle, 5 years ago, you dropped out of college, you were miserable, you struggled with your mental health, and now you're doing what you love. Like, your dream was to create.
Yeah.
And although you didn't expect it to be social media, it's the best thing that's ever happened to you.
Yeah.
And you're so, so happy. And that was a huge weight that lifted off my chest, because although there's always room for improvement, although there are so many goals that I want to achieve, you have to be grateful for where you're at in the moment. And that's something that I'm definitely working on, is being in the moment and being present and not beating myself up all the time.
Yeah, totally. And like, the other thing too is with social media specifically is like, we get highlight reels, right? Like, we don't ever get, I mean, I think it's maybe a little better now where people do document the things they're going through, but no one really pays attention to that. Everyone is just paying attention to like, oh my god, look at that outfit, look at the bag, look at like the cool thing they're doing. And it's like, your life freaking rocks. And like, that's how we perceive influencers and other people just in our lives. And it's not like that. So like, you're sitting on your bed and you're like, oh my god, like, I'm not cool enough, I'm not XYZ 1 2 3, but the people you were with were doing the same thing. Like, they have their own things happening as well. And I think like, sometimes I think about that and it does make me feel better, where it's like, I may be alone in my head, but I know in my experiences people are feeling the same way.
Oh, for sure.
And it's like, it's a little bit of a relief. You're like, oh, cool, I'm not alone.
And it definitely humbles me when I think back to where I was and just being like, there's so much growth. So if you can grow that much in 5 years, imagine how much you're going to grow in 10. You know, don't always, I think it's so weird because I try to be a positive person, but I think when it comes to myself and how I assume other people feel about me, it's always negative. And I think that mainly has to do with like never fitting in school. I think that's probably why I just assume that.
Yeah, that's fair on it. You're like, hey, childhood trauma.
Yay!
But honestly, same, because like, for everyone else, I can be the most positive person. I'll be like, you're gonna do whatever you set your mind to, and then for myself, I'm like, bitch,
failure,
sit down,
loser.
Exactly. But it's something that, like you said, it stems from something, and the minute you get to, you really pull back the onion and peel that back, you can fix the problem. But it's a journey.
It definitely is. And I'm still figuring out, like, okay, why am I really like that? Like, you know, because sure, there are events, but like, something had to have sparked those events, or like, did something happen before that, or like, why out of all the things I've been through, I've held on to not feeling good enough. There are so many things I could have held on to, but that was the one that just hit me, and I still struggle with it. Like, why that? You know, it's definitely a journey.
It's absolutely a journey. My question is, do you feel, because there's a saying, right, that you have to love yourself, you have to be a 100% like I love me, I'm good, to love someone else. Do you think that's true?
No, I don't. I think it's always crucial for you to identify why you're feeling the way that you do and work on yourself and improve yourself in whatever way you possibly can. But you don't have to cut people out of your life or isolate yourself to work on yourself. And I don't like that saying of like, in order to love, you have to love yourself, because I find that the moments that I feel love and I find love for myself, or because of the people that matter the most to me and are there for me. But I don't think that you need to cut people out of your life and that's the solution in order to love yourself, because if that's the case, you'll be alone.
Yeah, forever. Yeah.
Because you'll never fully love yourself unconditionally, always.
Yeah.
So why remove people from your life? Like,
I like your answer. It's the same answer I would give.
Okay.
And so,
yay, right answer.
No, there is no right answer. However, I do agree, because I think with myself, I've struggled with mental health my whole life, and I have a loving individual with me, and I've gone through so much where I'm like, you're gone.
Yeah.
You're leaving. And you find the people who don't, friends, family, loved ones, significant others, lifelong partners, whatever it is. And you don't need to love yourself fully all the time to be loved by others. And I think it's almost sadistic to be like, I don't deserve this. And I agree. There's moments where you could be like, I need to separate myself. This isn't right for me, whatever it may be. But in general, I think that you can find yourself, and you always have to find yourself in life. It's always a journey. So if you're going to do that forever by yourself, you'll
never be happy.
Yeah.
And I do love how nowadays we talk about self-care and putting yourself first. But there's a difference between self-care and self-destruction. And that's something I'm trying to navigate through. And you don't always have to be dramatic and start cutting people out of your life and hiding yourself away and have this huge revival in order to have a meaningful life with other people in it. And I actually think that other people, of course, a relationship with yourself is the most important thing, but I think other relationships can make your life meaningful and healthy and can help you love yourself.
Yeah. I think that that's totally true in the sense of sometimes when you can't love yourself, your parents, your friends, if you do have a significant other, their love for you really gets you through hard situations. If you were like, I gotta do this by myself and only by myself, and you have negative self-talk, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're done.
You are.
And so I think that it's valuable to have those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you need to surround yourself with people who can call you out, who can pull you out of the negative self-talk and bring you back. I mean, if you were by yourself, I don't know if it's impossible, but it seems unrealistic to just completely be by yourself in order to fully love yourself. It just doesn't seem very realistic. But I think society tends to glorify this idea of self-care and be alone and you don't need anyone. And I definitely have struggled with that, I think, because of my own insecurities. But I don't think it's always the solution.
Agreed. Totally. Okay, going on to the future.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I see myself either auditioning. I would like to, audition, have roles, or I think it'd be really cool to create a project and work on that, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera. I think that would also be really cool. I would like to get back into dance. It's been a while, and that's been a huge insecurity of mine for some reason. I don't know. That's something I'm gonna need to get over. I think it's just excuses, but that's something else. I think in terms of work, my goal is to just try different things and see what are the limits. I don't think I should ever hold myself back or be held back just because I make auntie videos.
Auntie videos.
I think I can try other things too, and that's something I really want to do.
I love that. I see it for you, and I could see you on screen as an actress. I definitely could.
Thank you.
That's really sweet.
That's really nice of you.
Well, Gabrielle, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you came to LA and decided you're like, I'm going to hang out with Tess.
Yes. I love Tess, and you should too.
Whee! All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.